Hi, Dawn Lewis here. Today it is day 2 of our 7 Ways in 7 Days ATC projects featuring The Cat's Meow by Mama Elephant, which you can find in Australia at dawnlewis.com.au. Here are the ingredients I'm using today. Mini Misty stamping tool, any stamping tool will do, Ranger Archival Jet Black ink and Memento Tuxedo black ink, as well as embossing ink, clear embossing powder, a variety of Copic markers. I have Memento Express It blending card, my heat tool, but we're going to start by stamping. Now, I had already started before I hit record on the video. I've stamped out the border stamp from the Cat's Meow onto my ATC base, which is 2.5 by 3.5 inches. I've double stamped it in black. Now, I don't have a really wet black ink, they're all dye inks, so I'm stamping over the top with the embossing ink. That saves me going out and buying yet another black ink pad. I'm going to put clear embossing powder all over, and it is going to stick, and it's going to give me a black glossy finish. So yesterday it was white on white, and today we've got clear going over black, which I've heat set, masked it off, moved it so that I get a different batch of kitty cats in the top section. And I'm going to do the same technique as yesterday, but I'm stamping with Archival Jet Black ink first, and I will double stamp it because this is watercolor paper, and even though I'm using the smooth side, it's still quite textured and not everything was great. Really give your stamps a good clean. Some static resist powder is a great idea, and then I'm inking up with the embossing ink, stamping over the top, making sure it goes in the right place, and then I can take the mask off and then pop it over my little container, and I can put the clear embossing powder on again. It's way too easy. Tap off the excess and then heat set that. So now I've got glossy black cat. So you can stamp in any color and then put clear embossing powder over the top. You don't need tons of embossing powders. I'm using Distress inks and an aqua pen, and I'm only going to color the kitty with the crown. So you've probably guessed by the intro picture how this is going to look. I'm just putting a little tea dye and vintage photo Distress inks, just regular, not oxide, down onto my craft sheet, and I'm picking up some of the vintage photo to start with. I'm going to put that in all my darker shadow areas where I want darker sections on the kitty. If I don't want too much color, I'll dip into where I've spritzed it with water, but if I want it darker, I'll pick up from directly the ink. I'm adding the tea dye now all into the center, and I'm making the kitty quite wet, and that means that when I put color down, this dark color, it just kind of naturally bleeds into the water. It just makes such a gorgeous finish on this coloring, and it's so easy to do. I hesitated coloring with Distress inks for so long. It was so easy. I've wiped clean. I've put down a little bit of picked raspberry oxide ink to use for the nose and the ears, and you just wipe it clean, and if it dries on there, you just spritz it with some water and then you wipe it all off. I'm heat setting the kitty because I didn't want the next color to bleed everywhere. A teensy bit of Wild Honey Distress Oxide ink, and I'm just filling in the crown. That's it, nothing complicated. So I'm just heat setting that because now it's time to go all around the outside. I'm using Peacock Feathers Distress Oxide ink, and I'm so excited that I now have the Distress inks and oxide inks in the shop. Super excited. I'm just using a post-it note to mask it off so that I don't get too much of the peacock feathers over the kitty that I've colored. I got lazy. I didn't want to cut a mask because I'd already cut a few masks. I wish I had, in hindsight. If I was to do this again, and if I end up using this design for my swap, I will do it again. I did get the peacock feathers on the kitty, but I'm just using the aqua brush and taking it off. It really worked. I was really impressed. It did mess up a few parts. I didn't quite get the peacock feathers as close to the kitty as I wanted, so I just picked some up on an aqua brush and I just filled it all in. It worked really, really well. So to give it the vignette effect, I'm just using some black soot. Now I'm using oxide, but you could use regular black soot as well to just go around the edges. And what that does, it creates a darker frame around it. It's not a black solid frame, but it just makes it look like, you know, the old style photography. So let's, take it home, finish this off. Meow. I'm using the teeny Meow stamp. I'm going to use that on every ATC. I've stamped it. I'm just lightly going around the edge with the peacock feathers, just so that it's not quite so stark, because there is no pure white on this ATC and it did look just a fraction stark. I've put a little 3mm double-sided tape on the back. I'm going to stick it to a scrap of black cardstock, then use my trimmer. I like this tonic trimmer, it's the smaller one and I really like it. I'm sorry it's out of frame, but I've just trimmed the black cardstock down so that I've got a matted greeting. So there's not tons of bulk in this. It's virtually one layer. It's just I've added, I guess, 2 very tiny layers of cardstock. So I'm taking off the 3mm double-sided tape. I'm just going to pop that close to our kitty, our lovely princess, and here we go. This is an ATC. It's all done. I do hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you would like to know more about how I made this, a full materials list is on my blog. If you want to know more about the ATC swaps that I am hosting here in Australia, there is a link to that blog post as well. I do hope that you have a very crafty day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now.